Look, if you don't want to make that change within yourself, it's not going to get better. This might not apply to everybody, but if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, and you're hoping for a better day, but you literally are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's a definition of insanity. You are provided with a choice every day. You are provided with multiple choices throughout the entire day. Take that choice, make that change. You've identified a problem. You're saying you're rock bottom. Got it. You're there now. There's only one way, and it's up. So change your mindset. Use that choice and go a freaking different direction. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Day 3 of retirement. As an infantryman, I was asked if I could clean the sink. So let's look at this. Definitely some kind of grime on there. And I open up the cabinet. What do I use? Nothing comes to mind. Like my experience is my skill set. Nothing. Wait a minute. Everyone knows this is how you clean everything. Infantry, retired.
You can just take it.
Would you like a military discount?
Do you offer one?
Honestly, cap of the day.
Please, thank you.
CC's Pizza is the county fair of restaurants. You go in there, you look around, you feel a little bit better about yourself, then you realize that you're in there too. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, let's be honest. You know, not everybody's made for this life. It's scary. You know, you gotta jump out of a plane while it's moving. That's not natural. It's high, it's fucking wet outside sometimes. It's snowy, it's hot, it's dry, it's shitty. Who the fuck would want to be airborne? Best job I ever had.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 126 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Matt. He's got all kinds of stuff going on, including politics, so this might get interesting. And today I'm joined by Len, Buddy, and Chris. Happy Saturday. Cheers, everybody.
Hurrah.
Cheers.
How y'all doing today? Good? Good?
Yeah. Amazing and getting better.
That
Nice.
came out awfully quickly, Matt.
Yeah.
It's already hoorah. You might as well have said Marine here. Marine. Mariner.
Semper Fi.
That's how I answer the phone.
Yeah.
I was
Kill.
Yeah.
Marine.
Like I was saying before. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Marine Lawn Company. Just spray blood everywhere, make the grass grow.
There's one of those out here. There's a Marine landscaping, and it's just one.
There's a Marine AC unit, AC company out here, too. Yeah. They do a pretty good job.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Semper Fi conditions or something, like Semper Fi air conditioning, some shit like that.
Always.
Yeah. It's funny.
They all eat crayons. That's
How do Marines know what air conditioning though is? Isn't that the Air Force?
Yeah, I never experienced that. Who's got that? I've been out for a while. That might be the new Marine Corps. They got AC now.
Yeah, Marine HVAC is a big block of ice and a box fan.
Yeah.
Below it.
Yeah.
It worked.
Swamp cooler style.
Good
Yeah.
job.
I suggest you stop being a little bitch. Hot.
Well, anyhow, usually I cover the conspiracy, but I saw Len talking some mad shit on Facebook, and I had to like immediately call her out and say, Len, you got to bring this conspiracy on Saturday. And she's like, no. And then I called her yesterday. I'm like, please, Len, come on the show and talk about, I think you were up till 4 or 5 in the morning going through TikTok, and it had you extremely confused. And now you are a believer? Or
So
no?
I'm on the East Coast. So whatever time you're on, I'm probably like 3 hours ahead of you. So it was probably midnight or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I was on TikTok, and I don't know why this came up on my FYP. It's probably because I follow you, Dave.
Maybe.
I follow you or Chris Kerber or somebody. I'm like, why is this on my TikTok? And so I go on my TikTok, and this is an elaborate presentation. So it was about an encyclopedia from 1958. And this guy's like, this encyclopedia in 1958 is talking about Antarctica. And they mention a dome. And then so everyone's like, oh, the dome and the firmament. This is the first time I'm ever hearing about a firmament. Okay, so I'm not like super religious or whatever, but when I like looked it up, like I guess that's like the heaven. And I don't know. I know there's all kinds of people, but the presentation was so elaborate. Like it went on to talk about like if there's a dome, like how is the world like a globe? Like how is it a sphere? And so on the comments it said it was it's the highest peak of Dome Argus in Antarctica, which is 13,000 feet high, is the highest ice feature in Antarctica. But in 1958, like they're misinterpreting it, kind of like how people interpret the Bible to however they want it to say how they feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like what they're interpreting is that it's like a whole dome. So the Earth is flat, and then so here's Antarctica at like the edge of,
and we're surrounded by an ice.
We're surrounded by.
Can we just say real quick?
Buddy, it'll be your turn in a second.
All of the comments and opinions on VTT do not necessarily.
So,
You'll have your take, buddy. You'll have your take.
So I'm not saying that I agree with it. I don't agree with any of this. It was just so fascinating to me that when I go through the comments, everyone's like co-signing. They're like, yeah, the earth is 6,000 years old. The firmament, if you look in the Bible, it says that that's heaven and blah, blah, blah. And then I just went down the rabbit hole and I just kept looking. And they're like, okay, well, if we have thousands of satellites in the space, right? And NASA's only released one photo of Earth a year. One photo a year, right? We have thousands of satellites in space. How come we don't have photos of like Australia with buildings like upside down? Like that's what the comments would say. Like, how come we don't have photos upside down of like buildings like, you know, inverted or whatnot? And it was just wild to me. And then
because I was inverted.
And they were like, well, okay, so if the Earth really spins, why is it if a helicopter can fly up, why does it stay up and down in the same spot the whole time? And obviously, you know, that's physics, you know, the geographical sphere or whatnot, and inertia makes us stay in one spot. And but the guy was like, so how come in that argument, the guy was like, if the helicopter can go up and down one spot, why do we stay in one spot? We should move, right? So that's kind of saying like the same thing. If we take a step, how come we're not moving with the Earth? And so that was just wild And I'm thinking about it, and it's late at night. I should be sleeping.
And you go down that rabbit hole, right? Yeah.
I'm like, well, why am I not moving? Because I'm not a scientist by far. But all the arguments on there, it was like, and then the comments, I was just surprised to see all those comments on there. Like, why is there so many people that like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Earth is flat? Like, how come there's so many flat earthers? Like, I don't understand. Go ahead, buddy.
I know why. Because we have gotten stupider as a group of people.
Yeah.
We're just
it'll be.
We were told that, and everybody's like, question everything. Yes, question things. But if we're still doing research that like Archimedes did, and we're not just starting from there because it's already been proven, we're never going to move forward because we're still trying to prove that something that we found out 700 years ago, that Earth is round, that Galileo was right. Like,
so one of the videos, so there's like 6 parts to this this series on TikTok that I watched. There was 6 parts, and one of them took a clip from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Have you guys ever watched that?
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. So I forget who it was, the guy with the dark hair, and he's like making an argument of why the Earth is flat because the Bible says so. And then one of them goes, well, why are you gonna take account for these? So you're gonna believe these people who you've never met and you've never even studied all their things, and like everything that they say, you're just gonna take that for what it is. And then he goes, yeah. He goes, why do you take that the world was round? And the guy goes, because it's science. It's been proven by all these people, and we have
trust the science.
Right. And then he goes, well, have you met these scientists?
oh my God.
And so you're telling me that you're taking all of their word for it, and you've never met them, and you've never dived into their research, but you're going to believe them. And so that's what the flat earthers argument is that we're being brainwashed and conditioned by science.
I can't hear these stories without.
It's one of my favorite things to do is to watch like the flat earthers try to prove that the Earth is flat, and then prove that it's round every time.
Len, did you get a rebate on those 5 hours of your life?
So it's funny because I think those TikTok videos were about maybe 3 minutes at most. So 3 times, I don't know. Either way, 20 minutes. And
so 20 minutes of videos, but you're watching it till 4 a.m.
And I'm like, no.
Go down that rabbit hole. It gets interesting.
I was like, you know what? I need to go to bed. I'm done with this. Like, I just can't. And I was just thinking, what if they are right? What if? You know, because their presentations are so elaborate. Like, who takes that time out their day to make like a 3-minute TikTok video? Have you tried to make
they have millions of followers too, some of those. Yeah.
A long time. So
people with nothing better to do.
These people vote.
Let's hear what. Thank you so much for sharing. So, Len, what's your consensus? Like, do you believe in any of it?
No.
Okay.
I think they're
straight up no.
Handle.
Okay. All right, Matt. What are your thoughts on any of this?
Well, two thoughts that come to mind when I come across this stuff. The first is these people vote. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, you're saying, question everything. I agree with the principle of be skeptical and question everything. But if you're questioning advanced level physics and Einstein level formulas and you haven't figured out your times tables, then maybe that's not what you should be questioning. Maybe you should stick to some more basic information that you can grasp a little bit.
Good point.
Hey, Len, real quick, can you TLDR the conspiracy for Rob in chat?
So basically, okay, so too long, didn't read TLDR. Basically, the guy was saying that the Earth is flat, and in the Encyclopedia of 1958 cited a dome in Antarctica. However, we all know that the dome is some sort of ice structure. That's what it's called. It's 13,000 feet. And from there, they just went down the rabbit hole talking about how come we have all these satellites, and then we only have one photo from NASA a year of the world. And then also, I didn't even touch on this part, that they said that some of the clouds were like they would stamp the clouds like the same kind of clouds.
Photoshop them. Yeah.
Photoshop it to make the clouds look the same around. And then when you would look up or whatnot, you didn't have those clouds.
Well, the big one was, not to interrupt, but the big one was the guy, I saw this one, was
Dave.
Yeah, I know, real quick, because I'm just going to help Len. She might have been thinking about this. The guy that jumped out of space, like,
the Red Bull guy?
Yeah, so they show images of when he's in the little fucking whatever he was in to jump out, and then when he's standing outside of it, yeah, he was in a balloon, right? Yeah, and then when he's standing outside of it, the images are completely different.
Yeah.
And it's like, just like within 2 to 3 seconds, really weird. Not saying that didn't happen. I have my take on all of this. It'll be my turn here in a sec. But
so to really
that one was pretty wild. Yeah.
To really shorten it up, the Earth is flat, and the conspiracy is that the world
we live in an aquarium.
Yeah. And Pauly Shore is part of the biodome down in Antarctica.
Yeah, we live in a dome.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying, is that it's flat and we live in a dome.
Some Pauly Shore shit.
Why they're hiding that is because whoever know who they is because there's extra land that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, there's not
I do have, so I'm just going to go ahead real quick with Antarctica because I'm a big UFO guy and aliens and all that stuff. I love that stuff. And I feel like Earth is definitely not flat, okay? But I do feel like there's a lot of like crazy stuff going on in Antarctica, like the Arctic Treaty that happened between all the countries. You know, it's not like one country owns Antarctica, it's multiple countries. And I do believe that there is some stuff going on there, whether it's testing, like whatever it may be, but we are not being informed with what's happening at Antarctica. And then there are some weird things, like Antarctica was discovered hundreds of years ago, where civilizations didn't have the means to like travel. So whether that's a lost civilization that figured it out, that's really weird. And then if you look at like the UN map or like the UN symbol of United Nations, it's actually the flat Earth.
It would be hard to make it a round Earth.
Absolutely. But the symbol is actually
coming in with those facts again.
But the symbol is actually a symbol of what they described back then as flat Earth, because there was a time when back, hundreds of years ago, they said the Earth was flat. Again, I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just saying that there is a lot of weird stuff that surrounds us.
Against it was some guy was like, well, they also said there was sea serpents and mermaids in the ocean back in our books back in the time. And so why would you believe something in 1958? Obviously, we have all this technology now, right?
Right.
But we have all this technology and like, we only get one photo of Earth a year.
But you know what? On that technology, on that technology argument, even though we have all of this technology and we're able to explore all these different places, what is it like? Only 10% of the ocean has ever actually been explored.
Correct.
Like everything down.
We've explored more of space, which not flat Earth, than we have of the ocean. Like that's.
Which is probably why the cameras are pointed out instead of in.
Yeah.
To get one picture of the Earth.
Yeah.
Dave Jackson in the chat says 100% there's remnants of an ancient civilization under that ice. Science shows that thousands of years ago, Antarctica was green and lush, and that's true. And not to go too far off topic, if you guys look up Admiral Byrd in Operation High Jump, and then how the Nazis were involved in Antarctica too, and there were actually weapons being fired at the ice. Like this is all declassified. You can look it up.
I was on the show when you talked about that.
Yeah, there's some shit going on down there, 100%, and that's my take. But everybody, like Hitler, was interested in that area, and then obviously Admiral Byrd. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in Antarctica.
Rob on Trash Talk hit that nail on the head. He said we're back into the Operation High Jump thing again. And Susan, you're allowed to be triggered. We triggered Susan Brandsetter. She said we're doing.
I'm on the
great.
Gruntworks chat. Yeah, I'm with our Gruntworks peeps.
And
Yeah,
I'm over here on Trash Talk. She said we're doing great, but this stuff triggers her. So just be triggered. Just don't be a pansy about it.
Susan, remember you have a choice to be triggered or not. You can choose not to be triggered, or you can just be triggered. Yeah, you have a choice in everything you do.
I would have to go with Susan on this one. It does trigger me that people are that fucking stupid. Like,
you have a choice.
Like,
you have a choice.
How are we?
Now he's yelling into the microphone. We can't understand him again.
Also, my husband was like, "You cannot believe the flat earthers. You were a sailor. You sail like I sailed across the 7 seas." He's like, "How could you believe that the earth?" I was like, "I don't fucking believe that. I just said that it was. I just said that I went down a rabbit hole, and all the other. There's just so many arguments for it that it makes it just like how is there all these arguments? Because I have sailed the Westpac, but then sailors have sailed the East Coast or the Atlantic and Mediterranean, but I've never sailed from the West to the Middle East to back to the East. I haven't done that, and I'm sure there's world cruises that do that, you know. But there was an argument that said, how come airplanes don't fly over the poles? They don't fly over the South or the North Poles. So
the jet stream doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
And why would they fly?
They don't know physics. They don't know science. So
they also fly. They also fly up. Like if you're going from like Alabama to London, which you could just fly straight across. Instead, they fly up and over because it's shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Safer. And
I mean, even going east to west coast, if you're in northern United States, they'll go up into Canada and up there and come back down. So it's just shorter, and you got the jet stream advantage.
I mean, when I go Virginia to California, we fly up like over Colorado and shit, and then before we come down into San Diego.
Yeah, it's almost like the line, the equator
is round,
is longer than like the circle around.
Well, yeah, what's your take, buddy? Otherwise, we're gonna just be rambling. We got to get to our guest at some point. Chris, you say absolutely not. Would you agree though? Antarctica's got some shit going on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
I actually had a buddy that was down in Antarctica doing research. He was taking core samples and all that, and the stuff that he told us was like, whoa. Like it was, yeah.
It's insane, dude.
Like what?
And now he works for SpaceX.
What did he say that was like, whoa, Chris?
Well, like the core samples that we're pulling, you wouldn't think it was just ice. Like Dave was saying, there was like lush greenery there. They were pulling the core samples to prove that. It wasn't just straight ice.
It was a continent at one point.
They've actually found a continent, buddy. Buddy, they don't just take it away because it's ice.
Yeah, I got it. It blows my mind when people are like, "Oh, but there's land there." Yeah, it's a continent.
Yeah,
there's land.
But like lush greenery, not just like barren wastelands of tundra,
ice.
Frozen tundra. Yeah.
You also know that the Earth not only rotates this way and this way, but at several points in the history of the Earth, the North Pole was actually the South Pole.
Yeah, they reverse the magnetic poles.
You also had Pangea, where all the
that's what I was going to say,
together and then spread apart.
That is accurate. Yeah,
these motherfuckers don't know about Pangea.
Damn, that was like second grade.
Everybody knows about Pangea,
dog. How they all just kind of fit together.
Anybody watch the Ice Age? That's why we got. That's why we got subduction zones, dog. Things are growing, moving.
In the Ice Age, the little squirrel trying to get the nut, and then he never like gets it.
Yeah, it's actually written about me.
Yeah. Anyway, buddy, what's your take real quick before you? What's your take real quick, buddy, before you get into your honesty cap, so we can get to our guest?
My take on it is that all of the stuff that you see on TikTok that's like talking about the firmament,
it's real. It's on TikTok.
Yeah, well, all of it is to me. It's like it's really easy to get triggered and annoyed with people that are that stupid. That they would
if you
believe,
watch Buddy's TikTok, you would already know he feels that way.
That they would believe that we can somehow
go follow Buddy's TikTok.
That some freaking group of aliens or people somehow got here and built a dome that we can't see, just like some plexiglass giant dome that we can't see, but rockets bounce off of it. That it doesn't. It's not that they're stupid. I think it's more. It's like our education system is so screwed up at this point that those people can exist, and they exist because they can be pulled around by their nose by anybody that gets high and tells them like, yo, dude, what if like this reminds me of when I was 18 before I joined the military, because of course that's when I would have smoked the marijuana cigarettes. Reminds me of getting high with a bunch of buddies and being like, yo, dude, okay, hold on. What if like the earth is actually like a little thing that like a giant has in its pocket with like a bunch of other planets, and we're just fucking so small, but like ants are also like really, really small, but there are giants that are just carrying us around and then looking at us every now and then. Like, and then they're like, you know what? Maybe we live in there's a firmament.
Then your buddy's like, I saw that on TikTok, bro.
Yeah. It is funny though. We do live in a time where a lot of the conspiracies from back then, like I believed in like UFOs, now UAP, since I was like 13, because I personally saw something crazy in the sky. And I would be called crazy.
13, Dave?
No, I definitely wasn't. Definitely. But
now
it's just like common. You know, now it's not a thing anymore. Because now the conspiracy theorists are actually questioning what the government is showing us. We live in some crazy times. I'm not saying that the earth is flat, okay? I'm just saying, like, questioning things. Go ahead.
The crazy thing is that TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff, at one point, in order to speak and be heard by the masses, you had to, like, know something or be important or be on the news or, you know.
Right.
But now
the trend...
Every idiot that knows how to like put an app on their phone can make videos on TikTok and say whatever they want to say.
Right.
And pretty much people will be like, yeah, the earth is flat, man. There's a dome, dude. Did you see his face?
But now also like a lot of stuff that's trying to be covered up, the flow of information through things like social media and the internet have made it easier for stuff to like back then you just were taught or whatever you read in a newspaper, and then you couldn't really communicate it to like anybody except your friend circle.
But what a lot of those people are communicating, is part of the truth that they are going to put out there. So
right. 100%.
Buddy, did you ever play the game Telephone as a kid?
Yeah,
there you go.
This is like tell a fucking moron. It's like tell an idiot and let that idiot tell other idiots. So that some jerk off can tell you something else and be like, hey man, did you guys know that because where Lynn saw it and was like, oh, this is a funny conspiracy theory because how can people be this stupid? There are people that are looking at it and
100%.
like, oh dude, I'm going to go get, hey man, what would you think if I got a private jet and we just fly over Antarctica?
Like you can tell if they're being serious or trolling, those people commenting or whatnot.
That's another thing.
Yeah, but and a lot of them are serious.
That's true.
So the problem is a lot of them are serious. And you know what else is the problem? Not that they vote.
I mean, that's a problem.
It's a problem, but it's not the problem. The problem is they fucking breed. That's the issue. Is that they have more than they just and those people don't generally go, hey, you know what? I'm going to have a couple kids because I can take care of them. They're like, you know what? Popping babies out everywhere. Just a whole families of idiots that are running around like, don't believe what the government tells you. The government tells you the earth is round. Hell no, it ain't round. I know the earth's not round because when I shoot my 30-06, I got to aim up high because the bullet falls down. Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely no on Buddy's take, obviously.
Yeah.
No. The earth is not flat. The earth's not flat. We don't live in a firmament. And the reason you can't just go to Antarctica is because
they don't allow
it. The wind in Antarctica is at 200 to 300 miles an hour gust. It's negative 80 degrees. You can't go to Antarctica Because you can't live in Antarctica without
even if you
lot
had
of
the equipment and you like tried to go there, there's parts you can go to, but if you like say you want to actively explore it, the government tells you no.
Right. And
it's not just the US government, it's everybody.
Yeah. It's all of the governments because they all decided at one point. First of all, underneath that ice cap and all of that land that's there, there's a lot of mineral, there's a lot of oil, there's a lot of gold, there's
100%.
all of the things.
100%.
So if we want to protect our entire globe, probably not blowing holes in the ice that keeps it cool would be a good idea. And if we were just to say, hey, we're not going to regulate what happens at the South or the North Pole, let people do whatever, then, Rockefeller would have already been there with like tons of dynamite blowing giant holes in the fucking ice caps so that he could get some oil and or some gold or some diamonds or whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
They actually found a pyramid there too, supposedly.
Buddy, do you think we could use AI to kind of map it out and see what's in there?
You know what? You guys.
I think that's a good segue into our guest, right?
You guys fuck with all the AI you want. I don't mess with it. I don't play with no AIs. You know what I mean? I've got enough problem with regular intelligence. I don't need to fuck with artificial shit. But you know what? Matt could tell us about it. Look at all those fucking books this guy's got. Look at all these books.
Look at all the books.
You know what? You could just tell AI to read your book, Matt.
Matt's not going to get into politics after being on our show, so he doesn't even know what he got himself into. You were with those guys?
Boris, I'm closing it down.
Yeah, it's a black mark on his record. He's done. There's no hiding.
We're all blacklisted.
Yeah.
We're all
Earth is flat. It's been proven by TikTok. None of this is worth anything.
Probably a good thing Nick was in here. He might actually be under investigation going forward.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
But anyway, buddy, are you going to introduce our guest? Are we going to get to him, or what are we doing?
Is it my job to introduce the guest?
Yes, it is. You read his bio and everything.
That's
your job.
Well, everybody, this is.
I always got to keep this place together.
Matt is well read. As you can see from behind Matt, he's well read. He has lots of books. They're leather bound, some of them. I would personally like to know why Matt has commitment issues. He can't commit to being good at just one thing, so he tries to be good at fucking everything, save some things for everybody else. Matt,
call it entrepreneur.
He's running for Congress in Illinois, which should be good. He's a AI sales rep person who I don't even know how you do that. Do you just have the AI sell itself? Does AI not sell itself? Is that not what happens? He went to USC. He went to USC. He's been a Marine.
Is a Marine. Get it right, buddy.
My bad. He's a Marine.
Marine.
Yeah.
I also want to know how it is that, how did the teachers, the professors at USC take it when you turned your papers all your essays in crayon? Was that a thing that they got upset about? Were they good with it?
Well,
Matt, go ahead.
Isn't USC a major party school anyway? So they should have been all about it.
Well, they're just glad he turned papers in, I guess.
I mean, he's already got a leg up. Everybody else is too hungover to do
Daryl Williams in the chat says, well, Semper Fi, little brother. Matt, welcome to the Dumpster Fire, what we call Veteran Trash Talk Hour. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on, brother.
I didn't know we were starting this thing off with so much fucking turpentine being poured in the dumpster, but all right then. Let's go.
We just got to go for straight napalm.
You've seen a couple of our episodes. You know how it goes.
Well, you know what, Matt? It's your fault. Maybe stick to one or two things. I read your fucking bio and I was like, I need to map this out with some kind of fucking flow chart. I was in the Marines and then I went to USC and then I started selling fucking AI shit. And then I did this, and then now I'm running for Congress. And in a couple years, I don't know, maybe president. We don't even know.
Just needed a 5-paragraph order to introduce him.
Yeah, I was
Smack, there we go.
I was like, I don't even know where to fucking start with this guy. Apparently, it's commitment issues. Why can't you commit, Matt?
Well, I've been with the same woman for 15 years, so I'm committed there. But
cheers to that.
That's where all his commitment went, right there.
It's all in one avenue. I'd say
everybody's face.
Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy? I'm trying to prevent that. And I think this actual TikTok thing was such a great introduction. So one of the reasons being, politics used to get me so wound up, and I turned everything off. I had my social media deleted. I was just focusing on my career. I guess to take a step back. So I actually dropped out of college, then enlisted, did 3 tours, went to USC, spent the last decade in innovation technologies like artificial intelligence. That's been the last 4 years. But I've been riding innovation waves. And I was just focused on me, my wife, that was it. And then just shy of 2 years ago, the first kid showed up. And I picked my head up. I started paying attention to the batshit crazy stuff going on in the country. I was in New York City in 2020. We got locked down with the riots, and they're freaking like attacking people and burning down buildings and all kinds of just, and I was like, holy shit, what happened to the country that I love? And so that's what got me into politics and running for Congress here in Illinois. And I know exactly what you're talking about in those comments because I had everything deleted. And so I went back, I got Twitter, go through on these posts, and you see hundreds of one of the things is down with capitalism. Capitalism is terrible. Like, it's the antichrist. Like, we need to bring socialism back and all this stuff. And you go and look at these people, and they're like school age and young adults that actually believe in this. And there's movements. Just a couple days ago, I had a friend send me a picture. They took at a bus stop that was like, believe in communism. Here's the website to meet up. I was like, this is the United States. Like, this is the Western world. And we've completely forgotten about what's important in life. And, I am in politics, but very much I advocate for, any other veterans that really care about their country, think about going back and trying to serve again. Politics is just as bad as serving in the military. It's not a fun ride. There's no excitement whatsoever. It's like pulling teeth and having to dig through shit all the time. But where we're headed as a country is I think we're headed toward a cliff. And so that's what got me involved in that.
Nice.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong at all. So, you were talking about socialism and communism. I saw a thing the other day, and a guy was talking about socialism, communism, and capitalism. And he was like, the smaller your world or the smaller your group that you're dealing with, you should probably be socialist. In your family, you should probably deal with your family as a socialist would. But the larger that group of people get, and the more there's a trust issue, like, say, the federal government, the less you should probably be socialist or communist, and you should probably lean more towards capitalism. Because capitalism is the way that all of the outside entities are supposed to be checked and balanced, and they have to answer to people financially. How does one who believes in capitalism, is clearly what seems like a Republican or a libertarian, how does one fare in Illinois running for Congress?
So it's kind of a situation that's similar throughout the country. You have very much more Democratic or liberal focused governments that are concentrated in cities. And then on the outskirts, and I'm about 45 minutes west of Chicago, District 14 in Plainfield, and it's very conservative. We did lose to a Democrat the last couple of cycles by as little as 5,000 votes, so an extremely close election. And it's very similar throughout the country, east to west coast. You look at very dense population centers go very much more left, and then the country or more rural areas go very much more right.
I can 100% speak to that living in Virginia. You've got the Nova basically from Woodbridge, which is about 30 minutes away from me north, to DC line, and then the Virginia Beach, and then the heart of Richmond is as liberal as you can get, and literally the entire state is red from there. So it literally looks like 3 blue splotches in a sea of red.
And one of the problems with that is the cities keep getting bigger and bigger, so they have more and more control over the entire geography. And the whole reason why we had the electoral system is to prevent a concentration of power in one or two cities.
Mm-hmm.
But because people like me and probably everyone on here keep leaving the cities because it gets so bad, someone's got to stand and fight at some point, because eventually the city centers will control every single state if we don't stop that.
Well, it's funny. There's a natural reason why that occurs when people live in cities and they're farther and farther away from having to work to provide for themselves at their base levels. Like, the food is brought in, they just have to buy it. The water is there, they just have to open their tap. The farther they get away from the source of their life sustaining, the things they need to sustain their everyday life, the more they start thinking that there are better ways to do it, because they don't understand the way those things are made. It's like the story of like the people that go to the store and buy chicken, but they don't know that chicken is a living thing, or they think that strawberry milk is milk from strawberries and not strawberry.
It's vegan.
Cow milk.
Is this vegan?
Is this vegan? Because it's strawberry milk.
And then you got completely in line with that. And then what you have is you've got this drift towards voting toward ideology and forgetting the practicality. And that's exactly what that ties into is we've got these concepts of, say, a perfect utopia where everyone has a certain amount of income and they don't have to do anything. Well, the practicality side would be, what's the actual mental negative? What's the psychological negative? And then how do you get all that money to redistribute? Well, you take it for everyone who's producing. And then if you take it from all the producers, they're not incentivized to produce anymore. And now you end up, like Russia right now. And we've seen it played out time and time again. And it's like, there's a quote by Reagan, to paraphrase, he says, liberty or freedom is always within one generation of perishing. And it's really easy to, put your head down and just focus on your own life and not worry about what's going on in the country. And all it takes is one single generation to do that. And then we've got socialism back in the United States of America.
Yeah. Well, he also said that a policy of appeasement is the worst thing that we can do. And that's what we do with each other is, one side keeps trying to push farther and farther, say, to the left. And, we keep appeasing. So that entire line is moving over, which means that the people on the right are getting so frustrated with how far it's gone to one side. The fact is, like, John F. Kennedy was a Democrat. That dude wouldn't be allowed in a Democratic convention at this point. Like,
have you seen?
He would be
100%.
seen as the worst type of racist piece of garbage that they had ever talked about. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane.
So there's a Bobby Kennedy actually just announced maybe a month ago, and obviously I know this because I'm now paying attention. He is very much in line with a lot of what the original Kennedy's policies were, and he's already being, thrown through the ringer for being, not a true Democrat or not a true liberal because he's moderate. And that's one of the things with social media is that what happens and what's been happening is the people on the furthest fringes of society can have these platforms to have extremely loud voices. And then people who are maybe a little bit right or a little bit left see that information and think, oh my God, this is the norm. And it pushes them further away from center. And it makes people so much more divided than we've ever been before. We have like the worst division since the Civil War. And unless we address that, unless that's handled, serious problems in the future for sure.
So on that history part, we actually have a comment on Trash Talk from Jeff. The school-age young adults now, who is starting to make up the majority of our voting, they don't know shit from clay on a rainy day, as he said. They're not teaching the history like they used to. It's all getting swept under the rug, or it's getting removed. I was just having a conversation the other day about that with someone. They're changing all these names because they offend people.
It's not even that. It's the fact that, they're not even teaching history the way they used to teach it, right? Because used to, it was like, 5 dudes. You learned about 5 or 6 guys every year, it's the same 5 or 6 people. We have a lot more. We have a richer history. We could expand history, right? It's too easy to expand history, but we don't teach history in the eyes of the time frame that it happened in. We teach it in the eyes of somebody in 2023. Like, it's really easy to go back and say, well, we stole all the Native American land. Well, we didn't. We didn't steal. We purchased and conquered. And to be fair, we were almost always allied with a native tribe that was fighting another native tribe. And those native tribes were fighting amongst each other. And if they had united, then we probably wouldn't have been as successful as a country, right? So maybe we should learn a lesson from their failure to unite as one people and fight somebody that was coming in to buy and steal their land and make some rules.
Well,
maybe
I
we
think
should learn from that.
History lesson is going to be a whole can of worms, because you could talk about all kinds of stuff, and history can be told from different perspectives. The winner or the loser, you know what I mean? History has always been told by the winner's perspective.
Yeah, and it will always be told by the winner's perspective. And generally, that's because the loser isn't alive anymore.
I mean, there is.
For real.
No.
That's what I'm saying. This is a whole can of worms. You could talk about history, about winners and losers. Like, you can talk about slavery. You can talk about people of color. You can talk about Native Americans.
But if you're going to talk about
Native Americans is a really good one. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to talk about Native Americans, for instance, because that's the can of worms that we open, then we don't need to talk about a group of people that were making out with trees and just eating acorns and walking around like the fucking hippies of the 15 and 1600s, right? Like, they were people that were warring with each other. They were like doing the same. And in those times, people as a whole, globally, were fucking savage. Like, they would do things that at this point, if we look at what they were doing to each other, whether they were white people or black people or whatever race, nationality you wanted to, the things they were doing to each other, we would look at it and go, what in the actual fuck were they thinking?
Well, shit, back then, if you had beef with somebody, you just go grab 2 pistols and, pistols.
Yeah, you fucking figure it out. You figure it out, yeah.
You just shoot each other.
Like, they're a witch. Oh, you want to break up with me? You want to break up with me, Becky?
No, you're a witch.
You're a witch. Gotcha. What? No, I love you.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. To prove that you're not a witch.
If you float, you're a witch. If you don't float, well, you died with a clean conscience, at least.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I said, we don't look at history in the eyes of the time frame that history occurred in. So that does everybody a huge disservice. And we also aren't honest about history. Like, when I went to history class, even and I graduated in '96. So when I went to history class, if you'd asked me after I got done with like my senior year of high school history, like, hey, where in the world did slavery happen? I would have just said America. That was it. It was a global phenomenon. It's how
Egypt.
Everything got done.
Fuck Africa.
It's how it got done
That just goes back to what you were taught.
Yeah.
And it was like,
So to bring it back to our guest, Matt, what do you want to do with this? Why are you running for office? Why?
Because I'm trying to save the country. But
how do you plan on doing that?
the more with, I'll say there's 2 things. So one being 9/11 happened. I actually went to college after high school, and watching the surge in Iraq, I didn't feel right. I'm an immigrant family. I come from an immigrant family. I'm first generation. My mom's not a U.S. citizen. And I was extremely proud and grateful of my country and what we have and what was offered. So when I saw the initial surge in Iraq, and I thought to myself, here I am going to school. I can go to school anytime I want. And my peer group, age group is out fighting and dying for our country. Didn't sit right with me. So I enlisted and spent 5 years and did 3 tours. And then, I got out and focused on myself again, went back to school, used the GI Bill, and spent the last decade, like I said, in innovation and AI. And then when my daughter was born, I kind of looked up and started paying more attention. I've read a lot of history, political history, global history, and been pretty into that since I was a kid for whatever reason. I'm not sure. And I looked up and I saw the most divided country that we've had since the Civil War. I saw that we have the fewest veterans in service in politics since World War II. I saw that things have gotten so extreme. People are practically, walking out their front door and throwing eggs at their neighbors. I saw the education system completely being upended, and I saw fringe groups that compose, 1 or less than 1% of the country trying to impose themselves upon the 98, 99% of the rest of the country. And I said, there's no way that I can raise 2 daughters and look them in the face and say, yeah, I went to war, but I didn't stand up and try and defend, our values and our principles in this country. And so that's what got me into politics. And that's why, I'm running for Congress out here in Illinois.
That's good. And that's very strong. And that's a good attitude to have, and actually stepping up and making a difference, not only deployed, but now jumping into politics and hopefully being able to change some stuff. If people, for the people that are watching now in Gruntworks and Veteran Trash Talk, we got 100,000 of followers. Where can they follow you? Do you have a website? Do you have any links? Are you on YouTube? Do you do podcasts? Like, if they want to get more information and say, this guy rocks, like, we need to get him in.
What's your website?
What can they do? Yeah. What's your website?
Yeah, the campaign website is Leiv for Illinois. So that's LEIV for Illinois, Lima Echo India Victor for Illinois.com. And if you type in my name on Google, I'm like the first couple pages on all of Google from my previous business work and everything. And I got my campaign website tied to everything right now. And I also wanted to address I think it was Buddy brought up, doesn't AI sell itself? No, it doesn't.
Talk about that real quick. So we got the politics, because I know we're running.
Actually before, so I want to hit the AI real quick. But one thing, when I declared, so I am a conservative, I'm a Republican, think that of what you will. Hopefully nobody cancels the podcast for that.
I mean, you're in a safe space for that. Don't worry.
If they were going to cancel the podcast for that, they would have already canceled the podcast. So.
But there's, I didn't say, so I tried to send out the podcast to a bunch of people I served with. There's maybe 30 or 40 of them. I was just like, hey, man, I'm on a veteran podcast. Like, come check it out. And literally Facebook shut me down. Like, that was the copy. Like, hey, I'm going to be on a veteran podcast. Here's the link. Come check it out.
Facebook
and these are people that have been connected with me for like 10, 15 freaking years. Since Facebook was even started.
Facebook does that because I think we're inciting. We're inciting violence.
Yeah. No, and Facebook is definitely more left-wing. We've experienced all that. Yeah, our group was shut down for the 3rd time, VTT Official. Shout out to VTT Official and all of our mods, obviously. But we were shut down, and it was during that whole time when everything happened in DC and everything.
During the pandemic.
And we were, and we called somebody Devil Dog, and apparently
happy birthday, Devil Dog.
Yeah, and we were inciting violence, and that was like the 3rd time they shut down our group, and now we're back to 70,000 in our group, and our group is actually, I mean, we're making a huge difference. What our mods are doing on there, it's just amazing. It's helping our brothers and sisters out.
But Dave, if we weren't targeted the way we were, we wouldn't be where we are at now, because
it's made us stronger.
Gruntworks would have never been brought around.
Yeah.
So it's only made us stronger every time they've shut us down.
So I feel you on that. There's some crazy censorship going on. And real quick off that, like, I don't know if any of you guys know the Full Send podcast, but Trump went on there too, and they just didn't air it. Like, they took it off of YouTube. Yeah, if you guys look up Full Send, when Trump went on there, he called it too. He's like, this is going to be taken off of YouTube. And it was, and I'm not a huge Trump supporter. I'm in the middle. But yeah,
I think most people are right now at this point. Most people are about in the middle.
And I feel like that's what we need to do as a country too. And I think we were talking about that briefly earlier. Like, it's just right against left. Like, there's some views on the left that I support, and there's views on the right that I support. Like, we just never can meet in the middle. And it starts from the people cannot meet in the middle, because I have to be left. That's how I am. I'm standing firm. I'm on the right. And then politicians are the same way, like, you have a Democrat in there, and then the entire right won't vote for anything. It's just constant battle. And in my opinion, it's what better way to keep the country under control is if you have these forces just continuously fighting against each other. Like, the 2-party system, I think, is good, but like, why can't we meet in the middle? Like, it's just horrible, man.
You can't have beliefs a little from this and a little from that, because you're wrong.
Correct.
And you're the enemy to both then, and you're sitting here like, what the fuck do I do? You have to choose a side.
Like, for instance, you have black people voting for Trump, or you have black people that are going Republican, and then they're being called out, you know, and then vice versa. Like, it's just, it's why can't we just be together and like meet in the middle and make it great again?
But it's the worst that it's ever been. It's by far the worst that it's ever been.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things where, you know, you need more people to stand up and run for office. And that's what I was going to say is I have had, you know, since I announced, I had so many, as you know, telling all my friends and all kinds of people, veterans and business colleagues and associates, and I had such an overwhelming positive response from people on both sides. There were a few extremists that were like, burn in hell, I hope you fucking die. And I got death threats and all kinds of stuff from like 10 or 15 people. But overwhelmingly, like 98, 99% have been hugely supportive. And as a matter of fact, a handful of people even reached out to me and are like, hey, man, and these are veterans. They're like, hey, I was thinking about getting into it. I didn't know where to start. And so I have a group of veterans that are like following me on my journey. And that's what I was going to say. If anyone is on the fence and thinking, you know, it doesn't have to be the federal office. It could be your local city council. It could be the school board. It could be whatever.
You gotta
if there's any
start
veterans out
somewhere.
there that want to stand up and get involved and start working, you know, for their principles and not just being the silent majority on the sidelines, like stop being on the sidelines. That's where these problems are coming from. Is the good people that put in the work are just sitting there living their lives and not paying attention to what's going on. Like,
vote for the elections. Like, we just had an election like a week ago. Vote for those small elections, your local elections.
So the smaller elections have the biggest impact within, you know, what you're doing immediately. And the reason I'm running for federal is because I want to have a national impact on legislation that's going on nationally. But there are any veterans that tuned into this and you're interested in running, like, please run out to me. I'd love to help you and talk to you and, you know, let you know what the process has been and what it's going to be and, you know, everything else. But definitely more people need to get involved. And the fact that we have the fewest veterans since World War II, I think it shows in the fact that everything has been so extremely polarized and people can't solve any problems. You know, a lot of the major legislation that goes through is bipartisan. Well, we can't solve and we can't attack major problems without bipartisan support. It just doesn't work that way.
So I'm gonna hit you with a hard one here then. How do you feel about term limits for Congress?
Yeah, that's not a hard one at all. I'm 100% in favor and support of term limits. As a matter of fact, I am very much in favor of tackling a lot of the corruption that's growing into DC right now. There's a rep out of Florida named Matt Gaetz, and he just proposed legislation 2 weeks ago that kills the possibility for insider trading, both for members of Congress and their family. I didn't even know that was a thing until I got into politics. Like, you can have other people buy stocks and your recommendations within your family. So obviously, like, if my wife were to do it, it's still our money. But because it's her doing it, like, it's okay. I am 100% in support of that legislation that he put forward a couple of weeks ago to kill the corruption on insider trading. And that's one step. And there's a whole bunch of other things that need to be done. So that's not a hard question. That's a super easy question. Like, I'm not here. So by the way, I'm taking a pay cut to run for office. Like, I was doing a lot better in technology. I'm not here to get rich. I'm here to try and fix shit. Like, a lot of people are out there just trying to get rich. We need more people with a service mentality that want to help the country and help their people. And they're like, no, I don't need the money. I'm here to make things better.
I love it.
Why do you think, Matt? What you mean? You talk to other veterans or whatever. Why do you think that they have such a, I guess, a fear of going into politics?
I think it's probably the same thing that all of you have seen since you get out. You have this amazing skill set, and then you listen to society and the people around you being like, oh, you're amazing, especially, you know, us grunts, like, oh, you're amazing, you know, in the field, but what can you do in business or politics or, I don't know, customer service or, you know, whatever else it might be? And there's a pretty big kind of mental gap between thinking, okay, I did all these other things and now I can go in and serve in another capacity. It's the same reason we see people getting out with 4 or 8 years under their belt, and then they end up working at like Home Depot or Walmart. Like, they go back to the same.
I feel attacked. You know, I was at Lowe's.
You were, though, but you didn't stay there. That's a difference.
I actually understand why people get out and go work at Lowe's and Home Depot. It's because they're over dealing with they don't want the responsibility anymore of a bunch of other people's bullshit.
Yeah. That's definitely part of it, I think.
Or they also think they're not good enough.
Well, that's the other part.
There's a big stigma too. Like you get out, like Sergeant Major Troxel, we've had him on the show multiple times. He talks about like us enlisted guys too, especially like Buddy, myself, Nick, like we've, all E8s retired. Like there is a lot of stuff out there. You just gotta play it smart. We're not like range control that like you get out. That's what you do now as an enlisted guy. You're in range control or no. It's a whole mindset thing. And if you don't prep yourself for later on, then it's kind of like your own fault. But
I mean, look at Matt. He was a grunt, and the dude was like almost a rocket scientist with AI.
Yeah.
And that's the two sides. Is there is absolutely a group that's like I knew a guy I served with. I'm not going to call out his name. He's like, I just want to get out and live in my sister's basement and drink beer. And like, all right, if that's you, that's cool. Yeah. Go work at Home Depot. Like that's fine. But the other side is, I remember being told like, oh, you're going to get out. There's going to be no jobs. You're going to fail. You should stay in. That's a very strong message that's still predominant within the military. When people get out, like, oh, you're going to get out. You're going to flounder. It's going to be a different situation. And so then politics is several stages removed from that. So first you have to establish your life, and then you have to go try and do something else additional past that. Like that's a very big mental block. And, frankly, I struggle with that even right now. Like, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to do it? I'm putting my family on the line. We're gonna, if things go national, will be trying to drag me through the mud. Like there's all these things they have to.
You're gonna be living in DC in a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you have to juggle mentally. It's like it's a big obstacle to overcome, and it's not something that you just I'll just make the decision and go for it. Like no, it's not that simple.
Yeah, I think honestly that's the other. What you just said, Dave, is the other problem. Is that we're talking to Matt's going to be a representative from Illinois, and we were just like, yeah, you're going to live in DC in a little bit if you're a congressman. Like, how are you representing? How I don't understand how we have representatives that live in DC year round, not for while Congress is in session, but all year, and then represent a place that they haven't been to in 10 or 20 years. Like,
I want to address that because
y'all just know their meetings over Zoom, right?
So y'all know Marcus. So hold on, this is a really good segue. So y'all know Marcus Luttrell. Well, his brother just got elected, and he's running. He's a rep in Congress, and he actually did a podcast. I don't remember who it was with. I caught maybe a month ago, and anyone who is interested in this, I go look up Marcus Luttrell's. I'm sorry, I don't know his first name. Marcus Luttrell's brother, who's in Congress right now. And he was exactly talking about that. He said there are people that get elected and they live in DC and they just do the DC politics. And then there are other people that are working their tails off and putting forth legislation. And he gave an example. He was like, he's up at 4 a.m. He does exercise or whatever. He works starting at like 7 a.m. And then he's working 12, 14, 16-hour days for 3 to 4 days a week and then flies back to his district. And then he works for a couple of days in his district and then has 1 or 2 days with his family. He's like, that's my schedule. I'm doing like nothing but work. And there's other people that live in DC and do 1 meeting a day. And there's like this huge divide of, the people that are just there to benefit off the system. And then those who are actually trying to do something.
And yet still can't find the time to make it to vote.
Yeah, 100%. And, where that comes down to is people not paying attention and not voting the garbage out of the system.
Right.
That's why we need term limits, is because those people probably been complacent and they've been in Congress or in the Senate or whatever for a long time, in the House for a long time. And so they have a residence in DC and they keep that residence, but then they keep their permanent residence in whatever state, kind of like how the military works. Like my home of record is Florida right now.
Yeah.
And to go work in DC, it's fine. I'm working there, but my home of record is Florida. You know what I mean? That's why I think that there should be a term limit for people.
If you think about it, there are people in office right now that got voted in before the age of the internet. And now they're trying to make decisions on things like artificial intelligence. Do you see that TikTok committee? Like, does it connect to the Wi-Fi? Like, you gotta be kidding me. That was
the worst thing ever. That was the worst. Like you would have been good at that. You would have been really good at that because you have the knowledge of it all. But the questions that they were asking the CEO of TikTok, and I feel personally like, I don't know. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, but I feel personally like he handled himself pretty damn well.
Exceptionally well. I would have probably started cussing and knife handing people.
Yes. But the questions were just like, so you're saying, like, one of them was like, so you're recording videos and then posting them? Like, yes, dipshit. That's what TikTok is. It was a
policy for us.
It was insane. Like, you fucking old fart needed to just quit and let it go. You do not understand social media, you know.
And somehow they got appointed to the technology committee. So they didn't just get voted into office, but then after getting voted in, they got appointed to the technology committee.
Just because you invented this technology doesn't mean you have to stay on it. You know?
Yeah, it was.
Well,
oh
that's
man.
the problem, though. They haven't invented shit. Most of those people have never actually had jobs. They were congressmen. Joe Biden was a congressman. Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, all of those guys have been congressmen. I'm 45 years old. They had a well-established career in Congress before I was born.
Right.
Yeah, that's another item with the term limits. And if you look at the founding fathers, like I've read all of their biographies, all kinds of information. Almost there was a couple that were professional politicians. They were the extreme minority. The system was built and set up around people who came in, served, did a job, and got out. Washington, Jefferson, all these folks were like, hey, I want to serve and then get out. As a matter of fact, Jefferson was voted in against his will. He said, vote somebody else in. Like, I don't want to do this job while he's in France because he wanted to be with his family. And we've warped from you go in and you serve. And a lot of these people didn't even take the paychecks because they're already well off.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the congressional session literally around agriculture so that the people that owned farms could go home to run the harvest?
Yeah.
And then come back and be in Congress again?
And so it's warped from that to, hey, I'm 18 or 22 and I graduated school and I'm going to be in politics for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no reason you should be able to be a professional politician. We've had presidents that their only job was a community organizer at one point. Like, how are you supposed to understand what normal... A, how are you supposed to understand what normal people are going through? B, if you've been a government worker your entire life, how are you worth $127 million? On paper. That doesn't count all the trust and all the other BS that's in, foreign banks and all the other places. Like, that's just what you actually have the nuts to say is that on a salary of $200,000 a year,
$174.
You're worth $127 million.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like
how that works.
I am 100% in support of somebody who wants to go out, have economic success, and be fabulously wealthy on the private sector. When you are serving, you are there to serve the people, not collect frickin' any additional incentives, bonuses, money, or anything else. You're there to serve. There's no reason whatsoever for someone to be pocketing millions of dollars on a small paycheck. And then they do that for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, that's the kind of stuff we got to change.
There's talk about conspiracy theories. This is really even a conspiracy theory.
So we're going to open and close with one.
Yeah. Lyndon Johnson, you know how much money he made off of Vietnam?
I don't know.
Insane amounts of money. His wife, when he started his career, he had gone into, he started by standing up for Halliburton way back in like 1938, 39, because it was a Texas-based company. Halliburton, KBR, all those companies did all the logistics for Vietnam. They did all the logistics they've done logistics for every war since World War II.
Yeah, they make a lot of money.
Lady Bird Johnson owned a giant amount of stock in KBR. But the companies that built all the crates that sent stuff back and forth to Vietnam, she owned the company. Like,
I remember, so I read
that's how we end up with a long war.
I read, actually within the last 6 months, a book that was going through the history of that. I don't remember all the details, but I do remember that whatever general, I don't remember the names, apologize, but he said in order to be successful within the Vietnam campaign, like in the first year or two, he recommended it as the troop amount that they had at the highest point. And they didn't want to do that. The government didn't want to do that because they wanted to prolong it and keep it going. So they kept just doing incremental increases in the troop surges instead of just doing the full thing. And so, of course, if we're only patching part of the hole, things kept getting more and more out of control while we're sending not enough resources to actually deal with it.
Yeah. And to be fair, if we had gone with Kennedy's original plan, which was to send special operations and to just train the South Koreans on how to defend themselves and allow them to fight the war, it would have taken exponentially longer. It would have been more successful, but we wouldn't have had 58,000 people that are on a wall in Washington, D.C. now.
So Matt, just to kind of bring everything full circle here, where is the best way for people that aren't, or how is the best way for people that aren't in Illinois that can't vote for you? How's the best way that we can support you?
Well, there's two things. One is helping get the word out. I'm completely grassroots and self-funded. Put a lot of money in of myself and my family. Second thing being, if they do want to donate, LaveForIllinois.com's got all the information. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can sign up for donations. You can find social media and just hit me up personally if you're interested in whatever details, and especially if you're thinking about running for office, please do reach out. Like I think 3 or 4 people in the last month have been, veterans that are like, hey, I'm thinking about, running or have thought about it, and sit down and have some conversations with them. And the stuff that I've learned in the last, 2.5 months since launching blows my mind. I have no clue about someone, like, for example, your family member can collect massive amounts, like you're talking about LBJ's wife. I had no idea about this stuff. Like, most people don't know about this stuff unless you're paying attention. But yeah, those would be the sites, just LaveForIllinois.com, or Sweet. You can find all my social media.
I dropped both of those, your Facebook page and your Lave for Illinois, in the chats.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I think I found you on Facebook. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hey, well, we wrapping it up? Chris, you got the AR?
This is Chris's job.
Yeah. So Buddy is not a fan of the AI. We all believe that the world is not flat. Some might still believe that there's a dome. We'll let them believe what they want to believe. It's
firmament. Firmament?
I'm sorry, but every time I hear dome, I think of Pauly Shore and Biodome.
Yep, same.
That's just where I go.
It's either that or Battle Dome.
Matt had his blinders on for way too long, but now that he's got them off, he's actually going to do something about it, or try to. And I think we need to support him. And having a kid really shocked him.
I think of that Jim Carrey movie. What was that movie?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I couldn't remember. Is where they're all recording him, and then he gets to the wall.
Yep. At the end.
Yeah, the Truman Show. That was it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's what I think of. Like.
And we dropped the links in the chat. So if you want to support Matt in any way, shape, or form, or you want to get into politics yourself, pull those links up. We'll post them in the descriptions when we go put these on Spotify and all those places.
Sweet. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. If you missed the show, go to veterantrashtalk.com. Has the links to all of our podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. Go check out shop.veterantrashtalk.com. Get yourself some awesome merch. I am wearing the Just a Tip shirt, one of my favorites. Definitely a conversation starter. Quit being a triggered pansy is probably one of our most sold shirts. And then, Buddy is representing Boats. Boats lost his wife a while back due to cancer, so we made a shirt for her. And all the proceeds from that shirt go to an amazing cancer foundation. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Love you guys. We'll catch you next Saturday. Boom.